Caleb's agent has delivered. He has delivered the inside scoop to what happened with Caleb Bimenyimana, how he was signed, how he fell out of favor with Kaizer Chiefs, and how he feels about the whole Kaizer Chiefs situation. What exactly did he say? Let's go through it. Hello and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. I am Pelo. I am your host. This is Offense It and talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Khosi Football Club. We were waiting for this interview because after Caleb Bimenyimana was announced, Uguti Chiefs have come to a decision on agreement with Caleb Bimenyimana to terminate his contract. Then Caleb went to his Instagram and said, I am so happy that I'm free. Thank God. God never lets me down and all that stuff. So now we're waiting for his agent to speak or him to speak. But in this case, his agent has gone ahead and spoken to Ilatuma. So this is not a report. This was an actual interview transcribed word for word. And I took some interesting points, some few points from what the guy was saying. And one of the things is that he says that his player feels like his player was not given a fair opportunity. And I'm like, okay. That's interesting to me to say Caleb was not given a fair opportunity, because if you remember, ever since he came to Kaizer Chiefs, to Caleb, he was played like constantly. You remember to a point yoguti Caleb, coach we Burundi, his national team, actually accused the Chiefs of overutilizing Caleb to a point yoguti they were playing him even when he was injured. And you remember Guti, there were times where Caleb came into the game strapped. There were times where I thought Caleb is not coming back in the next game because he's injured, but he came back and he played. So now in a way that's kind of contradicting itself. Guti, this person was played even when he was injured because all the time was being played. The agent is going to come out and say he was not given a fair opportunity. Caleb would have a bad game, but he would be played until the 84th minute, and then Utuba would be brought in, which by the way makes me think, which is related to another point that the agent made, because his agent says that he told Caleb, and you cannot expect to have friends in your first season. And he said something that's kind of valid-ish, because there was an interview, I think, on TK Solutions. I'm not sure if it was Tilwa Mbuyane was talking to TK. I don't know what his name is. Anyways, but he was telling him, Guti, when there was a foreign player coming to South Africa, South African players would try by all means to pass ball apetayo to the player. So basically, if they give him the ball, they will give him the difficult passes. So if they are creating chances, they would make sure that he doesn't get there. And at the end of the day, the foreign player will look bad. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, the Chiefs players wouldn't do that. But what I will say is that the chances that I saw Caleb missing, they were not difficult chances to miss. That's the thing that was frustrating, because it was there on a platter, like batting as Zulu Hlabudle. It was like on a platter, just do it, finish it off, tap in, and he couldn't score those simple goals. So then I don't understand what they mean by Uguti Caleb was not given Amapola, or when he was given balls, they were difficult. Because what I saw is that he was getting a supply. And if they're saying, the players, others might have not wanted to pass him the ball because they wanted their friends to play, their friends, I guess, would be Utupri, but Utupri was not actually a direct competition to Caleb, because Utupri, they were playing him wide. And until Saila Fige, who actually took Caleb's position, who's also another foreigner, that then doesn't make sense, Uguti. So Kaizer Chiefs players conspired against Caleb, but chose Usaile, who's also a foreigner and who came later than Caleb. See, that doesn't make sense. The only sense that it would make is if they were passing him Amapola Nzima because they wanted Utuba to play. But it's not like Utuba was getting enough opportunities in the first place. But once again, I will not sit here and say, they didn't do that, because there is a possibility. But what I will say is that please do subscribe to the channel as we continue to break down all of these things, and like the video so that it may reach more people like you. Now, another thing that he did say is that there were defenders at Chiefs. There were center back. Well, didn't say center back. He said there was a defender at Chiefs apparently Laduma knows the name of the defender, who said to the agent, I will pass Caleb because I can see that he's not getting a supply. And the way that he said that, he said the boy or the man who talked to him about that said Baba U, which means the person was speaking in Zulu, which leaves me, would eliminate Frosla, because Frosla he doesn't speak Zulu, which maybe knows Zulu, but the person would address him like that. It's down to Ukwinika, who was then dropped to the bench, or Unjabulo Ngcobo was also not playing, or Ungezana or Hlanti. Those are the two most likely people, because Udove no Ungezana were partners, Dove and Ukwinika were partners. So it's between Kwinika, Ngezana and Hlanti, who are the three people. But now I'm trying to see, Ungezana I never really saw, I didn't see him playing those diagonal passes, which leaves Ukwinika and Hlanti, which means they are the ones who try to play those long balls to Upimenyimana, because they saw Guti there was no supply going to him. According to this person, Uguti, there was a problem. Uguti wasn't getting Ebola, and because of that was getting frustrated, hitting the ground in frustration and stuff like that. So it's interesting, because once again I will say Uguti Ebola Gazwane wasn't clean, it wasn't perfect to a point Uguti Soti he always got chances, no, but he did get chances each and every game. At least per game Caleb Watolama chances out 5. Caleb did get 5 chances each game that he played. Maybe I'm wrong, but there wasn't a game that I remember where Caleb played and he didn't get a single opportunity. That is why there's this thing that other fans are saying with him, with Zwane ball, whatever there is, there were opportunities that were created, but right now with Ntsegi ball, there's none of that. We're not seeing opportunities being created. So I don't get why even the agent is now comparing what Caleb did in terms of chances that he got to what is happening to Ranga, because Ranga is not getting any chances at all. But to Caleb, at least, the other players were trying to get the ball further up the field. But once again, as I said, Zwane ball was not perfect, and because of that, there are those times where it got so frustrating to a player, Guti, he was hitting the ground valley and being angry and all that stuff. But what is very interesting, 2 more interesting things, don't leave the video. The first one is that it's 3 actually, it's 3 things. It's that 1, it's something that we knew. Oh, it's 4 now. Here's the under. I'm counting. So the first one is that apparently things changed for Caleb, or they got worse for Caleb when he got benched by Uzwane. And then he approached Uzwane and said, why are you benching me? And he's not saying that's the main reason, but he's saying that could be the reason why he fell out with Uzwane. But the thing is, he also says Vele Uzwane would shout at Caleb in front of other players. But the examples that he's making examples of Guti. You shouldn't shout at other players in front of other players because a grounding, then a player can get frustrated. I'm like, are you mad? Every other coach, I mean, like there's one player very good who's been one of the always in the top 5 best players in the Premier League, Kevin De Bruyne. But Pep still shouts at him. He shouts at him to this day. You understand me? Like Pep Guardiola shouts at Kevin De Bruyne. Jurgen Klopp, who is his best player, Jurgen Klopp shouts at Mo Salah, his best player. Eric Ten Hag fell out with Cristiano Ronaldo, who was in the argument for being the GOAT. But still, they shouted those players. Why? Because you are the coach and you have to communicate with your players. And Ngeglokusha is under all the time when you are talking to the players. And it's not like Upi Menyimana was the only player who got shouted at a grounding. Every other player got shouted at. Every other player gets shouted at. But when Caleb got shouted at, to him now, it was all of a sudden personal. Why is it personal to you and not personal to all the other players? Because if I'm going to shout at Ustebe or Matt, why am I not going to shout at Caleb? Because he's a foreigner and he should be protected. Come on, guys. That's not put Ugba Mama foreigner and all these other things which are not relevant to coaching your Montuguti. You are coaching people and you see them as players, and if they make a mistake, you're gonna shout at them. If he shouted at him in front of the other players and maybe was blaming him one by one and only him, then I get that. But there were also times, like there was this documentary Arsenal where Mikel Arteta was shouting at them, going at them one by one, asking them to be better. And look at how where Arsenal are now. They were competing for the second spot last season. They were unfortunate because some of their players got injured. Saliba is the main player who got injured, and then their defense was leaking goals. But if it wasn't for that, they probably would have won. Now, when uzothi abadlali Chiefs, they mustn't be shouted at because that messes up with their confidence. Then you wonder why Chiefs are in the place that they're in, because our players are maqanda phela. They shouldn't be shouted at because they will break. Don't get that. Like the video if you haven't. So that was the first thing, which he thinks that Uzwane mistreated the Caleb, but the team also mentions Uguti. He thinks the team was just too big for Uzwane, which some of you will definitely agree with. Uguti, the team was big for Uzwane, and some of the frustrations were misdirected because the load of carrying Kaizer Chiefs got to him, and then he ended up getting it out on the players. In fact, what we ended up saying is that Uzwane was actually defending the players too much, on the media. But the agent is saying Uzwane was actually oppressing Caleb enough on the media because he would blame him and whatever. But I don't remember him blaming Caleb or blaming any player specifically. So I don't get that. Another thing is this one. They asked him, Uguti, how was Caleb signed to Chiefs? And then he said this. He said that, right, he comes to Chiefs, and then he is sent back, right? And then on the day, guys, this is what happened. On the day that Kaizer Chiefs lost 4-0 to Mamelodi Sundowns, Caleb's agent received a call from Liffensteig while the man was still at the stadium. Untsegi apparently, so he didn't know Guti. The agent was at the stadium. He was just sitting on the Sundown side because he says they provide him VIP and stuff like that. But on the day the Chiefs lost 4-0 to Sundowns, on that day, not the following day, he gets a call from Kaizer Chiefs, from Liffensteig himself, who says, what's the passport number of the boy? Get him to the airport, bring him to Kaizer Chiefs. It doesn't get any more panic buy than that. That shows Uguti we lost against Mamelodi Sundowns because our midfield was leaking, and we thought the solution would be signing a striker. Let that sink in. Sundowns destroyed our midfield. And at that time, we needed a defensive midfield. Instead of signing a defensive midfielder, we ran and signed a striker. Because if we were panic buying anything, it would have been something in midfield. But we panic bought a striker. And by the way, this striker, listen to this. He's asked, Uguti, did Arthur Zwane want the player? He says no. Zwane did not want the player. The player was signed by Liffensteig. Which will bring us to another interesting point. But for a moment, I want you to take this. You remember, Guti, Zwane said it on Ukhozi FM, Guti, Caleb Bimenyimana is not the player that he was looking for. But Untsegi, after that game in Sundowns, signed Caleb, or brought Caleb back to Kaizer Chiefs to be signed as a panic buy. What does that say to me? That says to me the decision was made for Zwane, and he was told, you are going to use this player. You know what gets interesting is the fact that then the journalists, they ask him, Guti, if Untseg is the one who signed the player, why did he not then keep him? But then that's where the magic happens. Because Kwayen Untseg, to even sign the player after Zwane said he didn't want the player, Kwayen Untseg to release the player, even though he's the one who had signed the player, it's clear Uguti that was not Liffensteig's decision either. He was probably told by Upobi or our sporting director, Kezamtang Chunuguti, go get to Caleb because we need a strike. And Liffensteig made that decision. Because if it was up to him just saying Guti, Caleb is a good player, then why would he release him this year? Why would he release him? You get me? So this whole situation, Caleb, it's clear Uguti, this decision was made by the management and then it backfired and then everyone else started being affected. But it's a result of poor recruitment by management, and now it's clear that was not also Lefintsege's decision. It was just a panic buy by management, and now it got us to the place that we're in, and I hope we don't do it again. But knowing Kaizer Chiefs, if there's a free player available, they will do it. Guys, what do you think about this whole situation? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals Alpelumoy.